We play for our schools, teammates, fans, families, and alums.
Lowney walks in, fires, he scores!
We play for our jerseys. We play for our league.
In and across the line, kicks it to his forehand, swings it back over, scores!
We play with passion and pride.
65 minutes, we stay together.
We are yesterday's heroes. We are today's champions. We are tomorrow's legends.
WCHA champions!
We are the WCHA. Tradition starts here.
Coming up on this episode of Inside the WCHA, we are joined by Tom Serratore of the WCHA champion Bemidji State Beavers. Plus, Shane Frederick of the Mankato Free Press talks about the last weekend of the regular season and home ice for the playoffs. But first, Offensive Player of the Week Corey Mackin talks about Ferris State's big weekend. Let's start things off with a look at some of the stats behind the chase for the playoffs. Bemidji State, Michigan Tech, and Minnesota State have all locked up quarterfinal home ice, but MSU and MTU are still battling for the number 2 seed. While Bowling Green can't catch the Huskies or Mavericks, they do control their own fate in regards to the 4th seed and home ice. BGSU owns the tiebreaker against Ferris State by virtue of most conference wins in regulation or 5-on-5 overtime. Lastly, 4 points separate the current 5th through 8th place teams, with the Nanooks, Lakers, and Northern Michigan controlling their own destiny to advance. Hello everybody, and welcome to this edition of Inside the WCHA. I'm your host, Ryan Kassenschmidt, joined as always by Andrew Jelkin. This weekend marks the last weekend of the regular season in the WCHA play, but before we get too far into that, let's take a look at some of the highlights from last weekend. It was a goaltenders duel this past weekend in Big Rapids, Michigan, where the Bulldogs took on Alaska Anchorage. Friday night, the Bulldogs got on the board first on the power play, courtesy of Corey Mackin's tip in front of UAA goaltender Olivier Mantha. UAA's Jarrett Brown evened the contest in the second period after driving in the zone and roofing a shot past FSU goalie Justin Kappelmaster. Later on in the second, Bulldog sophomore forward Trevor Rechtenwald gave Ferris State the lead for good. Mantha finished the night with 37 saves, while Kappelmaster stopped 10 Seawolf shots in earning the 2-1 victory. Mackin got the Bulldogs going again Saturday night, turning this 3-on-1 break into a 1-0 lead for Ferris State. Gerald Mayhew and Jared Van Warmer picked up the assist on the play. Later on in the first, the Mayhew to Mackin connection found each other again, giving the Bulldogs a 2-0 lead. That 2-0 lead would hold all the way till the end of the third when Mitch Maloney added insurance empty netter. Sophomore goaltender Darren Smith blanked the Seawolves with 23 saves on the night. Olivier Mantha provided 50 saves for Alaska Anchorage.
We're now joined by Corey Mackin, who got the Offensive Player of the Week honors last week. Good to have you on here, Corey.
Thanks for having me.
With a big sweep last weekend, you guys put yourself in a tie for 4th place. How key was that series to put yourself in a battle for that home ice advantage come the playoffs?
It was really big. We know, like last year, home ice is pretty big for playoffs, especially to start first round, get the first round under your belt, and we were kind of focusing on that. We know we had a slow start to the season, but we thought we were kind of picking it up after Christmas, and we knew it was in reach, and we just tried getting it.
Having a 3-goal effort yourself on the weekend, what did you do offensively to be able to have that success?
Just kind of get pucks to the net. Every line was playing well, and I think that helped a lot just because tired out there defensemen and just getting shots on. My line mates made really good passes, made it easy.
Your team is now 4-1 in the last 5 games. What have you guys been doing lately, kind of as you push the playoffs to have success as you go into the postseason here?
I think we've just been listening to our systems a lot more, getting pucks off the glass, going up and over, and just playing our style of hockey. I think when we do that, we play a good game. And obviously our goalies, both goalies have been playing amazing, and we just got to start helping them out a little bit more on the score sheet.
So you travel to Lake Superior State this weekend for the final series of the regular season. What do you guys have to focus on to maintain that home ice positioning for the playoffs?
I think we just kind of have to focus on our game. We don't really want to think about who we're playing, what's at stake, or anything like that. We just kind of want to focus on one period at a time, one shift at a time, stuff like that, just bearing down.
And then last weekend you hit a big milestone with 50 points on your career. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that to you?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool. Got a long ways to go here, but just got to kind of focus on what the team has to deal with right now. Just trying to get home ice, trying to make playoffs, just trying to focus on that.
All right, best of luck this weekend to you.
Thanks.
Flipping the script a little bit, offense was the tail of the tape between Minnesota State and Northern Michigan. Junior forward Zeb Knutson kept his offensive surge when he fired a wrist shot from the slot that found its way to the back of the NMU net. The goal by Knutson ended Ate Tolvanen's shutout streak at 339 minutes and 5 seconds, which ranks second all-time in NCAA men's hockey history. The Wildcats would respond thanks to Zach Diamantoni's goal at 8:46 of the first. The Mavericks took the lead back when Parker Toomey's shot from the top of the circle beat Tolvanen over the glove. Max Cota would give the Mavs a 3-1 lead heading into the second when Dominic Shine deflected a shot from Jordan Klimek through the pads of Aaron Nelson. After a very back-and-forth scoring affair, the Mavericks would come away with a 5-3 victory. Sophomore defenseman Daniel Brickley wired a shot from the point past Ate Tolvanen for a power play marker to get things rolling for the Mavericks. Once again, Northern Michigan would answer on a power play of their own off the stick of Troy Loggins. Maverick freshman forward Charlie Girard notched his second goal of the season at 14:50 to push the Mavericks back ahead. Then Northern Michigan tied it up again shortly thereafter on a shot from Luke Volton. The first period alone ended in a 3-2 lead for the Mavericks, and you get the back and forth idea in this one as well, as Minnesota State picks up the 7-4 victory over the Wildcats.
In the last series of the weekend, Alaska welcomed the Lakers from Lake Superior State. The Lakers got the scoring started midway through the first period when Gus Corielli crashed the net and buried a pass from Diego Cuglietta. The 1-0 lead would hold into the second, but Alaska answered just 24 seconds into the frame off the stick of freshman Tyler Klein. The Nanooks then took the lead 55 seconds later when Colton Leiter fired a one-timer from the slot. Alaska kept their run going in the third period when Riker Lee fired a loose puck home for his third goal of the season. Marcus Basara would then finish off the scoring for the Nanooks, and Brian Basilico cut the lead to a 4-2 midway through the period, but that score would hold, giving the Nanooks the victory. Unfortunately, there was a server outage during Saturday night's contest, and there aren't any highlights of the game. It's a shame too, as this one took double overtime to determine a victor. It was freshman Luke Morgan who ended up playing the hero for Lake Superior State, giving them the extra point on the evening.
So after those 3 series this past weekend, there wasn't too much moving around in the standings. The biggest story of the standings would be Ferris State picking up those 6 points and moving into a tie with Bowling Green for the 4th and final home playoff spot. Alaska picking up 4 points on the weekend and Lake Superior State getting 2 keeps those teams in the middle of the playoff hunt. MSU's sweep moved them to within 3 points of Michigan Tech, so there's plenty riding on the last series of the season coming up this weekend.
MSU and Ferris State both picked up ground this past weekend, Andrew. Lake Superior State and Alaska both making a little bit of headway in the bottom of the WCHA standings. What are your thoughts on this weekend's games?
You know, I was really impressed with the way Ferris State was able to pick up the 6 points over the weekend. Getting into that tie for the 4th and final home playoff spot, it's really important, especially with the new format of the WCHA playoffs this year with home sites for each round of the playoffs. So the more home ice you can get, teams love playing at home more than they do on the road. So picking up those 6 points over the weekend, putting them in a spot where they can play that first round of playoffs at home, could be huge for them.
Thank you very much, Andrew. We're going to take a little bit of a break here, but when we come back, We're going to highlight some of the players of the week in the WCHA, as well as talk to Shane Frederick, writer for the Mankato Free Press. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Inside the WCHA is brought to you by BLC Studios, a division of Bethany Lutheran College. For more information, visit blc.edu.
College hockey fans, you can now watch every game, every night from your own home. From Anchorage to Alabama, Big Rapids to Bowling Green, and all points in between. All your favorite teams live on WCHA TV. Affordable season, monthly, and game day passes are available. Sign up today and don't miss a thing. Join us at WCHA.TV.
Welcome back. Now we'll take a look at the players of the week, starting with Corey Mackin from Ferris State. The sophomore from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, led the WCHA with 3 goals last weekend in Ferris State's sweep over Alaska Anchorage. Mackin scored on the power play to open the scoring in Friday night's contest, and then again opened the scoring on Saturday night. Mackin's 3rd goal of the weekend gave the Bulldogs a 2-0 lead it would not relinquish. Minnesota State sophomore defenseman Daniel BRICKLEY earns this week's Defensive Player of the Week honors. BRICKLEY posted a goal, 2 assists, 5 block shots, and a +2 rating as MSU cemented home ice for the quarterfinal round of the WCHA playoffs. BRICKLEY's 3 points was good for a share of the WCHA lead among defensemen, while his blocks total tied for 2nd. This week's Rookie of the Week also comes from Minnesota State. Nicholas Rivera scored both game-winning goals last weekend for the Mavericks and added an assist as well. Rivera tallied his first career shorthanded goal to give the team the 4-2 lead Friday, and then added a goal and an assist in the 7-4 triumph on Saturday. We're now joined by Shane Frederick, writer for the Mankato Free Press. Shane, great to have you on the show today.
Good to be here.
All right, let's jump right in for the questions. With a lot of close races coming into the final week of the season, especially between the 4 through 8 seeds come the playoffs, what are you expecting to see from the way teams play with this weekend with that desperation heading into that playoff push?
Well, really, we've been saying this for a few years now, that the excitement of the end of the season has been all the different races, and that's been the case really under the new structure of the WCHA. And I know we still call it new all the time, but and really you look at having a race just to get into the playoffs. You have the races for home ice, and now you even have races. I look at Minnesota State, the team that I cover, and Michigan Tech. I mean, they're in a race for 2nd place, which could mean the difference of being at home or on the road in the 2nd round if they should get there in the playoffs. And so I think there's a lot at stake this weekend. Everybody's trying to position themselves to be in as good a spot as possible, and really, try to keep things going through the playoffs too, and trying to fine tune their game, so to speak, for that. So I think it should be a pretty exciting weekend, really for everybody involved.
Bemidji State already having clinched the McNaughton Cup. As we head into the playoffs, do you think any team is going to catch Bemidji State, or are they just going to run away with it this year?
I don't know. I think all bets are off once the playoffs start. Bemidji State's had a great season, and they've had a great run. I don't think anybody can run away with it, and especially with the way the format's set up now. It's not just one weekend and then getting to a Final Five where you play 2 different teams. You have to survive 2 first-round matchups. You have to survive 2 best-of-3 series. So Bemidji State has the advantage. They're going to be the #1 seed. They're at home. They can be at home as long as they stay playing, but everything's really close. So those 4 teams that are going to be on the road for the playoffs in the first round, I think all have a very legitimate shot of pulling off an upset in the first round. And it would not shock me at all if there's 1 or 2 of those first-round series that the road team wins. It wouldn't shock me if any or all 4 go to 3 games. So I really can't predict that Bemidji State's going to run away with it. I think there's just too many other things, too many other factors going on, the way teams are playing.
So as we head into the playoffs, we've mentioned, the close races and how that's going to change things, especially with this new format that WCHA is using this year with the home playoffs for the higher seed. Can you talk a little bit about how that new change will really impact the way this weekend is played, just as teams try to push for that home ice spot throughout the playoffs?
Yeah, I think everyone wants to be at home. I mean, and that everyone who can be is going to try for that. I think, kind of two parts of your question there. One is, how are they preparing for that? I think everyone's going to go into the mindset of seeing if they're able to sweep. I look at Minnesota State, and I use them as an example a lot because it's the team I cover. But Minnesota State, swept Northern Michigan last weekend at home. That was their first home sweep since October, when they swept St. Cloud State in a non-conference series here in Mankato. And so, that's their first time that they've pulled off, back-to-back wins on a weekend against a conference opponent in their own barn. Teams want to be at home. They want to be home for possibly a third game and a decisive game, and that might put them over the edge. I think that's where teams are at in this format. No one really knows exactly how it's going to play out, but it's not a Final Five anymore. It's not that type of format. So you have to be ready to play 5 games over 3 weekends, or win 5 games, possibly play 7 games over 3 weekends, and that's a big deal.
Thanks for joining us today, Shane.
You're welcome. Anytime, guys.
Still to come, Bemidji State head coach Tom Serratore joins us to talk about his team's first ever McNaughton Cup. Plus, a look at the full schedule for the last weekend of the regular season. We'll be right back.
Inside the WCHA is brought to you by BLC Studios, a division of Bethany Lutheran College. For more information, visit blc.edu.
College hockey fans, you can now watch every game, every night from your own home. From Anchorage to Alabama, Big Rapids to Bowling Green, and all points in between. All your favorite teams live on WCHA TV. Affordable season, monthly, and game day passes are available. Sign up today and don't miss a thing. Join us at WCHA.TV.
Welcome back to Inside the WCHA. We're now joined by Bemidji State head coach, Coach Serratore. Coach, you guys have captured your first McNaughton Cup since joining the WCHA. How important was that to you and your team?
Well, I think anytime you win a regular season championship, it's very gratifying. It's a long season. It's 18 weeks, and you have to stay healthy. You have to do some things right, and you have to have a lot of luck that goes with it. So, over the course of 18 weeks, we showed that we had some pretty good consistency. So it was nice to see the guys get rewarded. Able to lock down first place for the WCHA postseason now. How important will it be with the new format of the WCHA playoffs to be playing at home the whole way here for you guys? Well, first off, you go one weekend at a time, and there's a fine line between winning and losing in our league. And it's tight. Just take a look at the race. It's just everything's tight, and you want to obviously try to get through the first round. That's for sure. But there's no guarantees. It's very challenging, and but obviously, again, would you rather be home or on the road? There's no question you'd rather be home. In the postseason, there's obviously a higher impact on the goaltenders, and goaltending will get you a longer way in the playoffs. You got Michael Bitzer playing for you so far this year, posting a 1.7 goals against average, .931 save percentage. Can you talk a little bit about how great he's been for you guys so far this season? Well, first off, he's just, he's been the definition of consistency. And he's been consistent for us all year. He's been our MVP. And, you take a look at his statistics, and it's unbelievable. How good his statistics are, not only his goals against average, but his save percentage. And, again, he's made a lot of big saves for us, and, he's bailed us out a lot. And, the guys obviously, they're very comfortable playing in front of him. There's something to say about when you have a goaltender like Bitz. there's something to say about, being able to obviously play and, I realize that you have somebody who's got your back in the nets, and that's what Bitz does. And he's just a competitive guy. He's a winner. And again, his statistics speak for themselves. And as far as Bitz is concerned, he's a big reason why we won that McNaughton Cup.
One more weekend left in the regular season this weekend, with MSU coming to town for that big rivalry between you two. What are you expecting to see this weekend between the battle between Bemidji and Minnesota State this weekend?
Well, it's just going to be another challenging weekend against Minnesota State. Obviously, we know how hot they are right now. They played very well against Northern Michigan last week, and they scored a lot of goals. They have a young team, but they're not a young team anymore. They're all battle tested, and we're going to see that this weekend. They're well coached, and Mike does a phenomenal job along with Todd and Darren. So we know what we're in for, and it's going to be a great weekend of hockey, and we're excited obviously for these series. That's kind of our in-state rivals. So they're going to be great games. There's no question about it.
Thank you for taking the time to join us this week, Coach, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you so much.
So, as Coach mentioned, his Beavers take on in-state rival Minnesota State Friday and Saturday night. But that isn't the only in-state rivalry that's going on this weekend. Michigan Tech and Northern Michigan face off in a home-and-home matchup. Lake Superior State will look to defend home ice against the Bulldogs from Ferris State. And Alaska Anchorage will host Alaska and the last Frontier State. In our last series of the weekend, Bowling Green takes on the visiting Chargers in the hopes of locking down home ice for the first round of the playoffs. All right, Andrew, this is it, the last weekend of the regular season. Now, there's a lot of games this weekend to keep an eye on, but what are some of the keys that we should keep an eye out for?
Ryan, I'm really excited for this weekend. There's going to be a lot of great matchups as teams are playing with a lot of desperation to try to lock up a playoff spot or to lock up home ice in the playoffs. Every team this weekend really has something to play for, so it should be a really exciting weekend of hockey, especially with all the in-state rivalries going on.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and you guys for joining us today on Inside the WCHA. Be sure to catch all the action this weekend on WCHA TV. We'll be back next week for a special playoff edition of Inside the WCHA. For Andrew Jelkin, I'm Ryan Kassenschmidt. Thank you very much for joining us today, and have a great weekend.